Welcome to Dinah Shore's Special Conversation with Burt Reynolds.
The only thing I'm sure of today is that I'm not sure what's going to happen. The reason is I'll be spending the next hour with someone with whom I've shared some really great times, a lot of laughs, some tears, and as with few relationships as intense as ours, enduring respect and friendship. I'm looking forward to this, I think. Welcome, Burt Reynolds.
You smell the same, you know that? You smell exactly the same.
Is that good?
Oh, I think, yeah.
Oh, I'm so glad. How are things?
Things are good.
What you been doing?
Nah, not
Nothing,
much.
nothing, I know.
Not much.
I really wasn't nervous about this until I drove to the parking lot and I saw our names side by side.
I saw that too.
Yeah.
That's nice.
I had to jump start my motor twice.
Yeah, the cheap took the same sign we had about 20 years ago. It's the cheapest show I've ever been on. There's no music, there's nothing.
Oh, you don't know how cheap.
These are real, though.
Oh, yeah, these are real. You don't know how cheap. Wait, we've only just
It's big. You know what this is?
No.
This is my favorite picture of you and I.
What is it?
It's a piece of cork. Actually, it's this. It's right here.
Oh.
Do you remember that?
Well, that's my wrong side.
See, this is one of the problems
We went through. Yes,
you
but
don't have a wrong side.
Yes.
Every side is. You don't like that picture?
my teeth stick out too far.
Oh, stop!
Yeah, but you
love
look darling.
I became in love with an overbite.
Did you?
I did.
Yes.
I've been searching for one
Well,
ever since.
you want to know when I fell in love?
When?
You burst into our show.
From the
And-
closet.
No, that was the second time.
Oh.
You don't. He doesn't remember.
Yes, I do. I was doing some show with Army Archer, and Fred came over and got me.
He did?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, you jumped in.
I jumped
you
in.
You did your own stunt.
Yeah.
You broke the table.
Yeah.
Bust the budget. Murray nearly had a fit.
Yeah, well.
And I fell in love. You remember that?
Yeah, I do remember. Of course I remember.
That was the day we met.
Yes.
It got you.
And then we went to Palm Springs. Oh, here it is.
I'm gonna
There
come
it
to
is.
you.
Look how thin we were.
I know.
Oh, but you're so
I have to
cute.
double open the car door for me now. Actually, I jumped that far.
Oh,
Amazing.
anything. You could do anything you want. And we can reminisce a little bit.
I hope so.
And did you ever take care of this, by the way? I have a letter here. Would you like to read it, or would you like me to?
I'd like you to, because...
Okay, I got my contacts.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Dear Mr. Reynolds,
Yes?
you and Bob Barker are my favorite movie stars. I got your autograph, but I haven't got Bob Barker's. I was
Yeah.
wondering if you could contact Bob Barker and get me a picture of him with his autograph. Please don't forget to send me his address, too.
Yeah.
Thank you. Debbie Ferraro.
Yeah.
Did you ever do that?
Yes, oh yeah.
Oh, sure you did.
I said, by the time I contact you, Bob, your hair will turn gray.
They tell me we have a few surprises coming up. Things that neither one of us remember.
You look so pretty.
You look wonderful.
Thank you.
Don't worry about the surprises.
The hell with them.
All right. Fred?
Is this for me?
Da, 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 da. You're not going to look good in it.
No, it doesn't matter. Remember John Hall?
Yeah, oh,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
It's big in those days.
Da, da.
This looks very good.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Academy, I want to thank...
Da, da, da,
And
da,
it's engraved in the back.
Isn't that pretty?
Yeah,
It
from
says-
Bill Bixby, with love.
Okay. All right, I want to show you something.
Okay.
I just don't know if I like it on or off.
Well, you're gonna have to make up your mind, you see. You just can't go on procrastinating. You have to make a decision. I can't go through the rest of my life like this. Now, do you want it on or off?
Couldn't we leave it just like it is? Oh, you did some interesting things.
Yes, I
That we have. I think you have another one, haven't you? Here?
Another side, probably.
No, they got.
No. Oh.
You know, there was another time when you surprised me. You were talking about You want after the commercial.
You never could do this.
I never could do this. I never could do this convincing.
Fred
like
would
other
say,
people.
go to the commercial.
Go to the commercial.
You didn't,
We're going.
yeah.
I know it. You want me to go? Just
No,
go ahead.
we don't have to go. It's
we're
your
not planning.
show. Do anything you want.
We're not going to go to commercial. I want to show you that other thing.
You better go to commercial. He's very upset.
All right, honey. Whatever you say.
Go to commercial.
Go to commercial.
Yeah.
Go
We'll be
to
right back.
commercial. We'll be right back. Shouldn't I be starting my sauce now? I don't have the duck sauce ingredient in the closet.
Hello, Oh, I put it in something. There you go.
I can't get over how thin we were.
Dean Martin turned that collar down and said it was too long. It's the longest collar I've ever seen.
Oh, I like it. I didn't notice the collar.
Oh.
I saw the guy.
The guy, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was nice.
You were full of surprises.
This is my new cookbook that I've been
Yes.
plugging all over the country.
Yes, I have.
I've had a wonderful time
Yes,
just
you're a
plugging
wonderful
it,
cook.
and
I remember it.
I hope you'll buy it.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Velveeta.
You were plugging the first one when I met you.
Was I?
Yeah.
Was it that long ago?
It was exactly when this show airs. Talk about.
Uh-uh.
Ooh. It was 20 years to the day.
Was it really?
Yeah.
See how time flies? I haven't had nearly as much fun either.
I don't remember about 12 of them.
Okay.
9 of them were great.
I'm glad to hear that. Okay. You know, I spoke to your mom and dad, Vern and Burt.
Yeah.
I did a concert in Palm Beach.
That's right.
3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And oh,
I heard you were wonderful, by the way.
Did you?
Yeah, my spies told me you were great.
Oh, good.
Do you remember we were dating and I said, now look, it's real important that they think we're not doing it. You know
That's
what I mean?
right. We're not. That's right.
So,
That's right.
because, you know, we're not married yet.
That's
So
right.
we can't be doing it.
Can't be doing it. And you built a tree
So
house.
you were in one building and I was in another building.
That's right.
And there was a path between those 2 buildings that wasn't there
Before.
And then you would come in the morning, as you always do, you know, at 5 in the morning, you wake her up. Hi.
I do not.
Yeah, and so she would come in the morning and whip up breakfast, and my mother finally one day said, why are you in these 2 buildings? What's the matter with you 2?
Don't you remember? You were sleeping on the couch.
That's right.
In their living room to make sure. And neither one of them could hear too well then. They
No.
hear better now. but they couldn't hear too well.
They hear better now?
Well,
Actually, they probably do because they're
that's right.
hearing aids.
Got a little hearing aid.
Yeah.
But we didn't fool Fern. You couldn't fool
No,
Fern
you
for a
can't fool
minute.
Fern about anything.
Big Burt, did he love it when you were playing football at Florida State? He must have.
Yeah, he did. He liked that. But, you know, he wasn't a demonstrative father. You know, I mean, he wasn't Italian, you know. And I somehow think that that's probably, there's some Italian blood in me somewhere that nobody knows about.
Oh, fire.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
and pasta.
I would have liked some embraces and stuff, you know. I never got those. But in his own wonderful way, he was a great father you know, at that time. He just was quiet and kind of scary because, you know, he would come in a doorway and all the light would go out of the room, you know, because it was like, you know, he filled the doorway because he was a big man.
Big man, still
Yeah.
is a big man. And he was police chief.
He was police chief, which didn't make it easy
West
for
Palm
me.
Beach.
It was tough for me.
And he was pretty strict.
Pretty strict? How about putting me in jail?
He did what?
Oh, yeah, he put me in jail. I was fighting once. I got in a fight with a bunch of guys, and he came and put about 6 of us in jail, and he came and he said, now, your father's here, you can go home, your father's here, you can go home. And he looked at me and said, your father didn't show up. I was in there for like 4 days. And
You're
every
kidding.
drunk that he arrested, he threw on top of me.
But he came and watched you every night to see that you were okay.
No,
He gave you
no,
a
no.
separate bunk out there with all the
He
keys
was tough.
are.
He was a tough father. I remember once only once, I sassed my mother. And I think I said, I wouldn't be sassing today. It would be something else. You know, you'd sit down and have a discussion today. But in those days, you didn't have a discussion about anything.
No.
And I think I said, oh, yeah. I was about 16. And he hit me right on the jaw, and you know, in the movies when they put breakaway doors and stuff, it wasn't a breakaway door. It was a real door. I went right through the door.
Oh.
and all the clothes in the closet fell on top of me. And I remember lying there, and I heard my mother say, Burt, you've killed him. And I heard my dad say, "No, he's just asleep."
Just asleep?
Yeah. Just asleep. You know what? I never sassed him
Again.
No.
Now, when you were at Florida State, and you were all state, I see more people come up to me and say, I played football with Buddy. That's
I
the
know.
biggest football
I had
team.
more people come up and say they were my roommate.
Oh, yeah.
I had a big room. Which is, I'm very flattered that they think they were in the
know.
room, but I remember them there.
And you made a 75-yard run.
It gets bigger every year.
Was it? Oh,
It was 59 yards.
59 yards. Oh, there it is. Look.
Oh, that is a 75-yard run.
Look at those legs go.
Little legs.
Churning, churning, churning.
Yeah.
Would you?
That's before they wore helmets.
You're.
Yeah. I'm amazed they had film then.
I will not use. Oh. You were always very comfortable on the athletic field, though. You really were.
I was,
We
except
loved
on
it.
the tennis court with you.
Well, we had a few problems on the tennis court.
Yeah.
And on the golf course.
You've always got a problem. When I said to Ginger Rogers, I was interviewing her last week for this show I'm doing, and this dear lady, and Esther Williams was on, and I said, it must have been a problem dating men because you were a better athlete than any man you could ever date, you know. And then I thought, wait a minute, because you used to beat me so
Oh,
badly.
but that was only in tennis. I would never beat you in football.
No.
Or
Or boxing.
Or boxing, or weightlifting, any of those things. Fantasize for a minute. If you could have had a Super Bowl ring, or if you could have now an Oscar.
No, there's no contest. I'd take the Super Bowl ring. The two things that I would like to have more than any Oscar.
You would take a Super Bowl
Oh, sure.
ring?
I'd rather have a Super Bowl ring first. No, not first. I would rather have a Super Bowl ring or the Medal of Honor. Because that would make my dad so proud.
Oh, yeah.
But an Oscar, third or fourth. I say that because I don't have a chance of getting an Oscar and,
Oh, yeah?
and the Medal of Honor. I got a pretty good chance.
I thought you should have had an Oscar or at least a nomination for Starting Over, and you should have had an Oscar for Deliverance.
You're slightly prejudiced, but thank you.
No, no, really, those were two unique.
Do you remember the night that we went to the screening of Deliverance?
Oh, never forget it as long as I live. In my natural life, that was a shock.
And there were two rather important people there. One was Lee Marvin, and the other was a Malcolm Muckeridge, who was a writer for New York, I mean for London, actually.
London.
Critic, very
Right.
caustic, salty critic. And I had a scene that was later cut out of the movie, as you remember. And Lee Marvin came up and said, "You're going to get the Academy Award." And Malcolm
I get
Muckeridge
nervous
said,
just
"You're
thinking
going to get
about
the
it."
Academy Award." And I went out in the alley, and I was shaking, and I said, "What am I going to do?" And then Borman came up and said, "Can I talk to you a minute?" And we went for a walk, and on that walk, Borman told me, he said, "You know the big scene where you tell Voight to climb up the mountain?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "I got to take it out." And I
remember.
said, "What?" He said, "I have to take it out because, you know, the first half of the movie is your movie and the last half has got to be Voight's. And it sort of doesn't balance out that way now. And so this scene I have to take out." And I remember coming back to you and we took a drive on Mulholland Drive. And you said, well, there'll be other scenes and other things and, you know, you have to go on. And life isn't about a scene in a movie. Life is about life. You know? And you were right.
But I know it. But I remember after the next preview in New York, and you were disappointed about that scene. We both were. But we were sitting in the Waldorf, looking out at all the lights in New York, and I said, life will never be the same for us. We've been able to have our quiet little dinners and go places and, you know, have a lot of fun and sort of slip around a little bit. Never again. And I said, it's probably over for us. You're gonna be, I said, you're going to be such a big star.
No, well...
you know? And, you know, because that really was the beginning of everything. Because you'd done a lot of movies. You told Dick Clayton once you played every Indian except Pocahontas. Remember?
Yeah, I dated her. But I didn't.
Well,
I did. I played a lot of Indians and a lot of untouchables, you know, a lot of those killers. And stuff.
Sure.
But in those days, you know, when I first came out here, it was the time when the pretty boy was in, and I wasn't, you know, that pretty. So it was, I say that pretty because I'm slightly pretty. I have a very nice ear.
I thought you were.
Thank you. Are they playing music because we're going away?
We're going for a minute. Oh, God. There's Louis. Oh, yeah. I get such a charge just looking at. I get so nervous when I see that right now. I mean, that was one of my favorite movies.
Thank you.
Of all time.
You know, I went down the river just to see if I could do it again.
You did not.
Oh, sure. And I actually I took Ned Beatty because Ned.
Did you?
Yeah, Ned's had you know, the whole experience was very psychologically, it was very difficult for him, you know, and he had to this day, you know, is tired of people coming up and saying, aren't you the guy that got, you know?
Yeah.
So I said, you know, it would be good for you to go down the river. It'd be cathartic, you know, just get it out of the system. I have these good ideas, you see. And so we went, and what we both didn't realize is that it's become like what they call the deliverance syndrome.
Yeah.
Every hour, there's a whole group of rafters that go down this river.
But not where you went down.
Yes. They don't go in a canoe. They go in a rubber raft, and they've got guides and ropes and things and helmets and life, which we didn't have. And Ned and I go down, and the guide forgets that, you know, we were in the movie, you know, and he goes, and right around here is where John Voight climbed the mountain, and this is where this is called Deliverance Rock, and we come around, and I said, isn't this great, Ned? You know, it's a beautiful place, and Ned is feeling better, and we come around, and he said, and we're just coming up on Sodomy Creek. It didn't help Ned at all.
No.
It's on the map now, Sodomy Creek.
There were scenes in there that John Borman wanted you to do, and he wanted the double to do, and the double refused to do them, right?
Yeah.
And guess who did them?
Well, you know, when you're young and frisky, you think you're immortal, and there was one shot where it went over the dam.
Oh, yeah.
And they put what do you call it, something that looks like you, in the water, and it floated over the dam, and it looked awful. It looked like a dummy.
Yeah.
And I said, John, I could do this. So he said, I don't know. I said, yeah, I can do it. So I jumped out on the rocks, and I was sitting there and looking at the water, and then I looked at this waterfall, and I thought, and the cameraman said, which way are you going to go? Like a jerk, I said, I'll go down there and hit that rock, then I'll turn left, and I'll go over there, and I'll probably do a little 1.5, and then I'll be, like I was going to have some control. What a jerk. So I'm sitting up there, and he said, all right, roll them, and everybody's going like that. I'm waving, and the guy, the whitewater expert, said, if you get caught in the hydrofoil, he's screaming at me, if you get caught in the hydrofoil, yeah? He said, swim to the bottom, and it'll shoot you right out of there. So I lie down in the water, and I swear I was going to turn right. I didn't know left. I mean, it was just, whew. And I get in there, and I'm caught in the hydrofoil, and I can't get out. And it's like a wash machine.
Oh,
spinning me
yeah.
around. I'm gasping for air, and Borman says, great acting, keep it rolling, keep it rolling. Looks like you're drowning. So I take a deep breath, and I go to the bottom.
You remember to go to the bottom.
Yeah, and but what he didn't tell you is it's like being shot out of a submarine. I mean,
the pressure.
You go out of there. Well, this 30-some-year-old kid went over the waterfall, and way down, about 100 yards down, they said, where is he? Where is he? And you know, I had that rubber thing on, which later they started selling them like that with the sleeves cut off.
With the sleeves
Those
cut
times
off.
they didn't.
So Louis
And I had this tight Levi's and a pair of climbing boots. I came out of the water, I had a stitch on. Not a stitch, it tore every bit of clothes off me. I climbed out of the rocks, and I was beat, and this 85-year-old man kind of, they said, who is that nude 85-year-old man coming up here? And, you know, saved my life that this guy told me to dive down.
Oh, sure.
But I didn't know I was going to hit the rocks and things.
Clothes ripped off.
Yeah.
Was that little boy who played the banjo? Remember the...
Yeah, he was an amazing kid.
Yeah.
We remember we looked him up once?
Yeah, and he kept calling you Stud.
Stud!
Hey, Stud.
Stud!
That's...
Well, I was lifting weights every minute, you know, to try to get this character. And
Yeah, but I mean, even when you were coming up out of the water, those pecs looked great.
yeah, nice pecs, even though they were drowning.
Yeah.
And the kid was an amazing kid because he had a kind of a touch with life that ordinary kids don't have. And I had never dealt up until that time with retarded children.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that they have tunnel vision. And if they concentrate on something, there's nothing to interfere with that.
Yeah.
They're kind of amazing.
Yeah.
And as you remember, we shot the movie entirely in sequence because Borman felt if any of us got hurt, he'd write it in the script, you know?
Right.
Or if we died.
That's right.
So, so we shot that scene first. And so I went to the prop man and I said, I want to buy this banjo and give it to the kid. And so I gave it to him. I never saw him again. We had one little scene on top of this little bridge where he was swinging it, and then we didn't see him for 12 weeks. And the last day of the movie, which was a very emotional day for Voight and Ned and Ronnie and I, because we had become very, very close.
And you've been through so much.
And we've been through so much together. And we were hugging each other, and I looked up, and there he was, the boy. And I said, look, John, look. And as he walked towards us, he went, bum, 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 bum. He had learned to play that whole thing.
Oh, yeah, I remember that child.
Lots more memories coming up on Dinah's special conversation with Burt.
Not want to remember, but I'm sure
Oh,
you will
dear.
once I remind you.
Am I going to like this one?
No, you'll like this one. Well, no, you won't like this one, but it's nice to be alive. Is that we shot it in a real prison. What was it?
Reedsville, Georgia.
Reedsville, which is a very, probably at that time, maybe the #2 worst prison in the United States. The #1 was Oklahoma State, which they burned to the ground right after that. And it was a tough place to be, and I must say we somehow brought it off. But you came to visit me, only Dinah Shore, as only Dinah Shore would do. She said, can I bring some lunch out to everybody? I said, well, we're in the middle of the prison. I mean, there's guys, and you know, there's murderers and rapists, and she said, won't they like lunch? I said, probably will, yes, probably. So you brought out your little basket, and then you had to go through 11 guards, 16 guys bringing you out my little lunch, and I couldn't believe it. But anyway, the last, I don't know, it was the last night of the picture, it was the week of the football game. Mom and Pop came up.
That's right.
And you went to buy some meat to cook something. And you went to the local little town, which we better not mention, and you got this meat, which it was a ribeye steak. I remember it to this day, because there was this big ribeye in the middle. And you cooked this ribeye steak, and Mom and Pop just thought, oh, this is great, and they left in the car. And you and I were just laughing, and we were enjoying ourselves, and suddenly you said, do you feel anything? I said, yeah. Do you feel something? Yeah. Wow. And we both bolted for the bathroom, which there was only one.
There's only one.
Yeah. I'll let you go first, as I remember.
You were so sweet.
Thank you.
Well, I regretted it later.
I was clawing at the door. And we both had food poisoning.
Yes, we did.
So I said, you think Mom and Pop have got it? So about 11 o'clock at night, the phone rang, and it was Poppy said, have you got food poisoning? Everybody had food poisoning.
I know it.
From that ribeye steak.
I know. Well, I cooked it on a hot plate. That's all.
Was that what it was?
Sure, that's all we had there. I think it was a $6 motel.
I've never eaten a ribeye steak since then.
No.
I don't want one.
No. Do you
It's
remember?
in this cookbook, by the way. It's called How to Lose Weight with just one easy ribeye steak.
Fast.
You pick this up, you lose weight overnight.
In a second. In a second. You remember the 47-minute sequence you shot with those prisoners? And the guy that tried to take your head off, literally?
Yeah. Well, what happened was that we were doing this football game, and Bob Aldridge thought that would be, I did too at the time, if we would run one play that was choreographed, and then one play that wasn't choreographed. And it was on the play that wasn't choreographed each time that they tried to take my head off. And the linebacker was a guy named Ray Nitschke, who was in the Hall of Fame, who was a great guy. And every single play, he would hit me so hard that the little hole in my helmet would be, I'd be looking out of it like this. And I thought, finally I said, Ray, it's a movie. It's not the Super Bowl. And he said,
a movie.
It's not? He didn't know. He had a helmet on, and there I was, a quarterback, and so he was just killing me, but I never said a word. I never complained. And so one play, I ran around outside on one of those plays that wasn't choreographed, and they hit me into the bench, and kind of, it was semi-pro football players who have a tendency to want to prove themselves. And as I went back to the huddle, I heard this terrible racket, and I looked over there, and Nitschke had 4 of them on the ground. And he said, if anybody kills this guy, it'll be me, not you. Don't anybody kill him but me.
Well, listen,
I really appreciated that.
Yeah. We had some interesting prisons. There was a period, I guess you call it our prison period, because we went to Leavenworth.
Went to Leavenworth, we did a special in Leavenworth, and it was amazing because...
You played basketball.
Yeah. I went there early because I felt it was incumbent upon me as a host to let these guys trust me. So I went out in the yard and played bocce with some guys who were very big in the mafia, and played basketball, lifted weights, and played pool. And then you came and of course won the entire place over. Oh, look there it is.
There it is. There you are, shooting baskets.
Shooting baskets.
Okay, one miss. Okay, wait now. Okay, wait. 2 miss.
That was an air ball. I didn't even hit the backboard. But I was slim.
Now, yes.
I was slim, though.
Yeah.
That's what's important.
No, I don't think so.
And I did a nice
I like this better.
Yeah. And do you remember who was on that show?
Merle Haggard.
And Jonathan Winters.
Oh, Johnny, sure.
Who bolted on us, remember?
Oh, yeah.
He bolted on us.
That's right.
Because he heard the door close.
That's right.
And it reminded him of something, I don't remember what. And he and I were doing an improvisation, and the warden said, remember we had dinner with the warden the night before the show?
Yes, and I got the Leavenworth biscuit recipe.
That's right. And the warden said, look, whatever you do, don't mention the cook. I said, we don't have anything about a cook. Don't worry about it. He said, don't mention the cook. The guys are close to rioting now. I said, I'm not going to mention the cook. First thing, Winters comes out, sits down on this little thing, and I said, you want to do an improvisation, Johnny? He said, great. He said, I'll be a cook.
I'll play the cook. Okay. I tell you something. I've never eaten food like that, and I've lived in a reservation all my life. That's garbage you're giving us. Boy, you're right.
The place went crazy.
Oh, yeah. Remember the guy that played the guitar?
Yes, of course.
And I was going to sing a solo with him. And Merle and all the guys were shooting pool up in the pool room. And I'm used to big, heavy doors. I've been in studios, recording studios all my life. And you were out there, you were always shooting good. And I said, I think I'm going to run over this number just once. I just want to warm up a little bit.
She's wandering around the prison like it's, a maze.
They said, don't do this because you can be a hostage and everything. And so I go in and I hear this door clang behind me, and I don't think I've been recording studio doors are that heavy. And I walk in, and there's this fellow with a 5 o'clock shadow sitting there. And he looks at me. Now, if I scream, he's got another 20 years on his sentence. And if he grabs hold of me, that's it for us, right?
Good for him.
Yeah. Always the optimist. At any rate, I sat there and I looked at him. I said, would you like a cup of coffee?
I do, I remember that.
He said,
and you won him immediately.
Oh, no. All he said was, honey, I just want you to get out of here. And I found the door, and I finally found the pool hall again.
It was an incredible experience for both of us.
Merle was not crazy about it.
Well, Merle had been in the joint, and he wasn't crazy about it, but he was wonderful because he said on the air, which was amazing, that I said, what happens when this show is over? And he said, for me, I came to see a show like this, San Quentin. And I went back to my cell, and I said, it was Johnny Cash. And he said, that may be my way out. And he got a guitar.
Oh, and what a way
changed
out.
his life.
Yeah.
Changed his life.
Sure.
That happened to you, wasn't it? You were in a woman's prison, I think.
Well, I was having a
Uta
terrible
Hagen
time.
came.
Yeah, Uta Hagen came.
And
There's the music again.
there's the music. That means that
Yeah.
we're going away for
We're
a
going to be
second.
right back. Oh,
What was your first impression of the place when you saw it?
Of Leavenworth?
Yeah.
Well, it's very impressive. My goodness, it's kind of like one of those buildings in Washington, the Mint, you know, big, impressive place, and the grounds are lovely. It's a lovely place to visit. I wouldn't like to live here.
that's your 12-gallon hat from Smokey and the Bandit.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Uh-huh.
That was a phenomenon in the business, directed by Hal Needham.
Yeah.
Wha-
Remember
what?
that picture? I was in 21 having lunch. I don't know what the hell I was doing in 21, but I was there.
Why
and-
not?
Well, you know, I've had lunch there
Good hamburger.
twice. And I was sitting with somebody, I can't remember who, and Lou Wassman ran across the room and said, shook my hand, and as he went away, I said,
Uh-oh.
man, this picture must be making a lot of money.
Huh?
And it turned out that we'd only released it in the South, you know, and because they said it won't make any money in the North. It made $45 million in the South, and so they said, well, what the hell, we'll release it in the North. And it made $58 million in the North.
I mean, and nothing flat.
Yeah.
But the dearest story about that, directed by Hal Needham, which was...
Stuntman.
Yeah, stuntman. That's
Right. My roommate. in
Crazy.
terms- Crazy, but the best all-around stuntman
Right.
in the world. And Dar Robinson was probably went the highest and did the... But Hal did high falls, horse falls, car stuff,
Everything.
fights, anything. He was amazing. And his capacity for pain was quite incredible. I want to tell this story because I shouldn't tell this story, but I want to tell this story, and you can bleep it where it doesn't, you know, okay?
I'm not going to...
Because we were together, and Hal did this jump. You probably remember this. Hal jumped a truck over the Los Angeles River and broke his back. So I was at our house on Oxford Way Drive, and I went back to our other house on Miller Drive, and I came in, and Hal was standing in the corner. And I said, why are you standing in the corner? He said, I can't move. I said, well, what do you mean? I said, I can't move. And I said, well, let me help you. So I said, we'll put you in a chair. He said, I can't sit down. I said, well, come on, we'll go to the hospital. So I somehow got him in the car, and we went to this emergency room on Santa Monica. And we go in there, and Hal, being Hal, was still being very cocky. And you know when they put those little paper-mache outfits on you, it's hard to be cocky, but he was still being cocky. And a very attractive nurse came in, really cute. And he was kind of flirting with her, and the doctor came in, who was all of 24 or something. And he had a needle this long. And he said, Mr. Needham, we're going to have to drain that lung. And Hal said, get on with it. And the guy said, no, you don't understand. He said, there's fluid on the lung. It's going to be very painful. So I would advise, you know, if you've got, you know, if you want to go in another room, he said, get on with it. So now the doctor is a little PO'd because, you know, he's kind of cocky and everything. And maybe the doctor was dating the nurse. I don't know. This is something that I put in the subplot. So he said...
Subplot?
Subplot.
Yes.
So he said, Mr. Needham, you better lean up against the wall. So Hal goes, puts his hands against the wall. Now, I'm fascinated with his capacity for pain, so I go around to look at his face to see what happens when the needle goes in. And the doctor walks up behind him with this big needle, and the doctor said, nurse, you better hold on to him, he may faint. And he went, he's leaning against the wall. So she grabs him by the legs, and I'm looking at the face, and the needle goes, and I look, and there's not even a blink, not even a bit of perspiration, but he's all over the nurse. And it was just everywhere.
That's embarrassing.
It was on the floor, it was on the nurse, it was on the arms and everything.
That's a little embarrassing.
And he went like this, but not a beat of perspiration. He went, I guess getting your number now would be impossible. It's a story, you can't use any of that story, but I want to tell it. I just want to tell it for the guys.
I think it's typical of Hal Needham.
It is typical.
Hal Needham has a high threshold.
I'll tell you something else that happened.
You're going to tell me another one
yeah,
of those?
no, not quite
another
as bad.
bleep? Oh, this is a good one.
We were together, and I, as usual, either didn't come home or did come home or whatever. And on this particular night, I don't know why, I came home at about 3 in the morning. And there was a man called, I'm gonna condense this story real fast. There's a man called the Skid Row Slasher, who had killed,
Oh, I had forgotten.
they think about 23 people, you know, cut them in the throat. And he was getting some drugs down below my house, and they said, you know who lives up there? And for
On
some
Miller
reason, he
Drive,
thought
yeah.
that was fascinating. And went up and waited in my closet for me. But I didn't come home. So he got bored waiting in the closet, and he went up to the house above me and killed one guy and cut the other guy real bad, slid down the hill. And then I came home. It was then 3 o'clock in the morning. And you remember I used to leave the doors wide open.
Oh, yeah.
And I never had a weapon in the house.
No.
And I went in and I was lying down, and crawling on the floor was one of the guys from
From the house above.
with his stomach wide open. He was holding his inside. And I looked down, and he couldn't talk, and I jumped up, and there wasn't 911 in those days, but whatever the equivalent was, and I looked out the door, and standing about 15 feet from me was a Skid Row Slasher with a machete, a Clint Eastwood hat, and a serape.
Right.
He's staring at me. I'm staring at him, he's staring at me. I closed the door, and then I looked for a weapon. You know, I tried a knife or a bottle or whatever. And he slowly, it was a great acting lesson, because he slowly walked across and disappeared. Helicopters came and cops came, and
Oh, I never.
what they found out was the reason they knew it was him was because every time he had murdered somebody, he had taken their shoes, which only these 2 cops, played by Walter Matthau and Peter Falk, he took their shoes and pointed them at the head. And only they knew that particular, the press didn't know about that. So they said, it's a Skid Row Slasher. And did you see him? I said, yeah, I looked right in his eyes.
There he is.
So then I went down to do WW and the Dixie Dance Kings. They called me and said, we got him. Because when he slid down the hill, his food stamps came out. And we tracked him to his address, and will you come and identify him? I said, yeah. I come back, I fly me in, they bring me down the bottom, and I must say, nobody knew about this. I was in the basement. I come up, and I'm standing back there, and I'm standing with some cop who was a very nice guy, and he said, when you walk out, look right at him. Don't be intimidated. I said, I'm not going to be intimidated. He said, look right at him. I said, don't worry about it. So I came out, and I looked right at him, and he looked like O.J. Simpson would read for it and be too much of a fairy. The guy was, I mean, his neck was this big, and he lifted weights. He'd been in prison about 23 years of his life and did nothing but lift weights. So I sat down in the chair, and I'm looking at him, and he's looking at me, and he's smiling. So I smile back at him, and the public defender gets up, and he says, do you know who this is? And I said, and he said, how do you know who that is? I said, because I saw him, and he had my clothes on. He said, what do you mean your clothes? I said, well, that was my serape that Clint Eastwood gave me from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
That's right.
And I said, I recognize it. And I said, there's a clean slip inside, if you'll look. I never could figure out why they did this. Instead of Reynolds, it says R-E-Y-O. And the guys blanched, and they took it up, and the judge said, So then he said, well, you're an actor, aren't you? And I said, well, the jury's still out about that. And I got a very nice laugh. And the judge said, this is not the Tonight Show, Mr. Reynolds. Just answer the question. I said, yes. And so we went back and forth, and he had my identification bracelet on. So it was a very short, but I had nailed him.
Significant.
As I got up, as I'm walking by him, I look, and as he's looking at me, he's writing. But he's not looking down, he's looking at me and writing. And as I came behind him, I looked over his shoulder, and it said, probably about 125 times, kill Burt Reynolds, kill Burt Reynolds, kill Burt Reynolds, kill Burt Reynolds.
But they put him away forever and ever, ever,
Oh,
ever
he's right
and
next
ever.
to Sirhan.
He will never
I know
get-
when this guy, you know, plucks his eyebrows. But the story, the end of the story is, if I hadn't been with you, I would
See?
have come home probably at 9.
See?
And he would have been there, and I'd have my shoes pointed at me right
right.
now. And they'd have said the best movie he ever did was The
Riverboat.
Wild One. I wasn't even in that picture.
Yeah.
I mean, it was before anything good happened to me, and it was because I was with you.
That's right. See, I knew that. The Tonight Show has always been a very important factor in your life, but
It changed my life, really.
Yeah.
Tonight Show. When I did Deliverance, I was in Georgia, as you know, and got a call to do the Tonight Show, and had to fly from Clayton, Georgia, which was not easy, to New York, because Johnny was in New York then. And as you remember then, in those days, nobody hosted the show but comics, if Johnny was off. You know?
That's right.
And New York comics. And I was on the show, and the first commercial, he leaned over and said, "Will you host the show?" And I said, "Sure," because I was too dumb.
Didn't know any better.
I didn't know. Yeah, I said, "Sure." So I came back the following week and hosted it, and it was that show that John Borman saw.
Boy.
And when I was called out to read for Borman, I said, "What film did you see that you thought I would be right for this movie?" And he said, "I didn't see any film. I saw the Tonight Show, where you were in control of 4 people, and you have to be in control of these 3 men."
Lewis had to be so
Yeah.
all-pervasive.
So the Tonight Show really got me Deliverance, which was my deliverance out of
Yeah.
B movies.
When you were doing WW, or was it White Lightning, a director came down to see 2 directors in 2 days. Because I remember I was cooking
And
cornbread.
WW, you were there when Milios Forman came.
That's right.
And we had breakfast. And I came back and I said, "I'm not going to get this picture." And you said, "Why?" And I said, "Well, I went to breakfast with Milios Forman, and it was about a movie that I wanted to do so bad my teeth ached, called, I've never, before or since, wanted a part that much. It was One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And Milios,
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest,
yes,
folks.
And Milios Forman said, in the middle of my pancakes, said, "It's between you and another actor." I said, "Who is this other actor? Who's this guy?" And he said, "Jack Nicholson." I got a real bad headache right through the eye.
Yeah.
And that day was the day he was nominated for a picture of the year before.
Sure.
And I said, "I'm not going to be in this movie." And he said, "Well, no, it's between you." I said, "I'm not going to be in this movie. He just got nominated today. I'm never going to be in this movie." And but it was nice having breakfast with you.
Yeah.
You're a foreigner. I like you anyway. And and he went away, and Jack Nicholson did the picture, and I came back and told you, and then somebody else came down. Oh, Peter Bogdanovich.
Bogdanovich.
Peter came down and said, I have this musical, and musicals hadn't been done in a while.
At Long Last Love.
Yeah. And he said, "You sing and dance." And I said, I don't do either one of those things. But Dinah does. She could teach me.
He didn't want me.
No, but I mean, this is how stupid I was. I thought, I'm an athlete. She can teach me.
Sure.
I never did learn how to do either one. So I was just drunk the whole picture.
Oh, you were not. You
Yeah, I
never
was just
were
drunk the whole picture. But you know what? I was cute.
You're always cute.
No, but I mean, I had a certain, you know, I remember the first day of the picture, I was over there trying to learn how to do this shuffle or the soft shoe or whatever. I was working so hard, and I looked up, and there was Steve McQueen and William Holden, and they were doing the Towering Inferno. And they were standing in the doorway, and they had ballet shoes. And they went, "Yoo-hoo, yoo-hoo."
Yeah,
I
but
was a little incensed about it.
I said, okay, this is going to work out fine. Cary Grant did a lot of those, you know, that sort of
Yeah.
thing. And
Thanks.
maybe not Fred Astaire, but
No, I tried real hard, and you know how hard I worked and everything. And you were so wonderful, and you were so encouraging, and you'd say, "You're on pitch, honey. You're on pitch," which only happened about 3 in the morning.
No.
"You're on pitch. Get the cameras over here." And then,
He's singing in
because
tune.
Sybil Shepherd was then living with the director, and it was done live. You remember the movie?
the show was done live. That's
Live.
right.
We had little things in our ear, which every once in a while I got a Mexican radio station. and you'd be in, this thing would be in your ear, and the piano player would be in another room.
That's right.
And you would do it live. It was
Oh,
all in
yeah.
one take. And if she got it right,
That's it.
if she was in pitch or was on key, we printed it.
Yeah.
It didn't matter if I fell down, got a nosebleed, stuck a banana in my ear. That's a print. I said, wait a minute, I was It's a print. Didn't
I
matter.
like the shot with the banana.
I tried to
in the
go
ear.
with him after that. He wasn't interested.
Yeah, well, didn't care about you at all.
Didn't care.
I know. Well,
But you worked so hard with me, and
Yeah, but you made-
I love you for that. It was so wonderful that you tried, and I have never been able to sing before or since.
wait
and
a
I
minute.
appreciate
You
it.
made your singing debut on our show.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Would you like to see it?
No, please, no, don't do that.
How much?
Don't do that to me.
How much?
No April showers. You bet your grave they come your way.
Oh, you jerk. What a jerk. Would you let your daughter go near this guy? I had no waist.
Look at,
I was all wrapped in elephant skin.
look at.
I'm trying to talk so you don't hear the singing.
It isn't raining rain, you know. It's raining violets, and when you see clouds upon a hill, you soon will see crowds of daffodil.
Keep on looking for a bluebird and listening for a song.
Whenever April showers
come along.
Thank
See? We'll be right back.
Whenever April showers come along.
Haven't you directed Evening Shade?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I do just about every other show, or every third show.
You direct it, and you wrote one.
Mm-hmm.
You produce it.
Yeah. Co-produce it.
Well, co-produce it with the Thompson.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be exhausted. And you're acting, I mean, well, you're reacting it. I've never...
That's right.
I mean, everybody, you're talking about picking on you, but it is so funny. The premise of that show is very funny. A real losing coach.
Yeah, well, it really is my brother Jim,
Yeah.
who lost every game in this,
Bless his
this
heart.
school that he coached in West Palm Beach. And me, I mean, I would have been a football coach if I hadn't been an actor. And what's important is what he teaches the kids about losing.
Yeah.
That life goes on and the sun still comes up tomorrow, and it's not everything.
Yeah.
But he is, in fact, a very good coach and a very
Yeah.
good teacher, but he doesn't have a lot of material in this little
Well,
school.
they're not buying players for him
No,
either.
they're not buying players for him. And it's very easy for me to identify with this guy.
Yeah. You know, when you directed Gator.
Yeah.
That was the first thing you ever directed.
First movie I directed.
And Orson Welles was always a big friend and fan, a real big fan of yours. And he said, a popular favorite of Burt Reynolds' magnitude is not always a favorite with cinema snobs. Blinded by his blazing commercial success, they find it hard to take him seriously as an artist.
Yeah.
And he thought,
You know, I was with Orson the day before he died, and I went out, this is a kind of a comment on this town. I had gone to Spielberg and said, you know, I would like to do Amazing Stories, but I'll only do it if Orson directs it. And he said, he thought about it for a moment, and then he said, okay. And I went to tell Orson at Montmaison that he was, and he was so excited
yeah.
that he was going to direct this show.
Why would Orson Welles have to be excited about getting to direct? That was one of the greatest
Well, because that's
moments in
what
in history.
This town is sort of about what you did yesterday and not about what you did before. It isn't about, I mean, O.J. Simpson will always be the Heisman Trophy winner and will always be remembered for the greatest runs he ever did. An actor or a singer or whoever is remembered for, in this era,
That's right.
for what they did in the last 5 minutes. And it
yeah.
shouldn't be that way. It should be about the finest hour they ever had.
Sure.
Barney McNulty is here. I have to tell a Barney McNulty story,
Okay.
who you introduced me to. Barney McNulty, who was the sweetest man in the world, is the man who invented cue cards. And you and I were going together, and I was hosting the Oscars, and I was scared to death, and for a lot of reasons. And David Niven was hosting the last half. I was hosting the first half.
Right.
And I went and said a lot of what I thought was clever, irreverent things about the Academy and stuff like that. And an hour before, it was live, of course, Walter Mirisch, God bless him, very nice man, came up to me and said, you can't say those things. And I said,
none of
what things? And he said, all the things you've been rehearsing. I said, well, what am I going to say? He said, we'll write you some stuff. Because he said, you'll never work in this town again. I said, I haven't heard a line like that since the famous movie, The Oscar, which nobody went to see. So I said, I'm going to say what I want. He said, you can't. So he went to Barney and said, you're fired, he's fired, everybody's fired if he says these things. So I walk out. Now, this is like the highest rated show in the world.
In the
right?
world, by
in the
far.
world.
Oh, yeah.
I'm slightly nervous. And I look out, and standing by the camera, like this camera here, is Barney McNulty, my friend. And he's got one set of cue cards, which were Walter Mirisch's, in which he went and pulled out mine. And I said,
everything.
and you know what? I never worked again.
You know,
What?
that's a lovely story.
It's a lovely story about Barney because it took a lot of courage on his part, and
Yeah,
I'm sure he took a lot of heat from it afterwards. And it was, I got glassy-eyed when it happened. And you know, David Niven, God rest his soul, I loved him so much. I went to his dressing room just before the show, and he said, "What if there's a streaker?" Because that was the time of the streakers, you know.
Oh, that's right. It happened in David.
That's right. And I said, "Thank you very much."
I just.
And I said, I said, "What do you mean?" He said, what if there's a streaker? What do we say?" And I said, "Well, I have 2 jokes." So I gave him my 2 jokes. I said, well, he showed his shortcomings, and he's not Jewish. And so he said, "Oh, I like that. I like that." So I went out. You know, this guy was standing, rolled up in the curtain, the entire my whole act, or 3 acts, or whatever it was. I was out there. He was rolled up, with no clothes on, behind a curtain. I leave, David Niven comes out, "Hello, how are you?" And he burst out of the curtain, and David said, "Well, at least he showed his shortcomings." It became the most quoted line in the history of the industry. I was on my way back to Oxford Drive, just going, well,
I don't know where he got his material.
where did he get this stuff?
Dinah and Burt will be right back.
Hurry, Dad.
Look at that. Oh, that's Quentin,
Yeah, sure.
your son. Oh, look at that. You're singing this.
Oh, he fills my
look
heart,
at that
this boy.
face. Oh, that's so sweet. That's. Oh, he's precious. Oh, that's a darling picture. He doesn't like you much. Look at that hug.
Well, it's mutual. You know, last night, I mean, there's a Quentin story every day, but last night he said, "Tell me a story," you know. So I said, "Okay, I'll read you the 3 Bears." He said, "No."
I don't want the 3
I
Bears.
don't want the 3 Bears. I'm up to here with the 3 Bears.
Oh.
So I said, well, I'll tell it different, you know. And I mean, I acted my buns. I mean, George C. Scott would have been a little pressed to follow me. And I was huffing and puffing and blew the house down, the whole thing. And then I finished, and he went,
Oh, come on.
yeah. He does all that stuff. He does all the show business.
Oh. Does he, when he comes on the set, does he break it up over there?
He's amazing on the set. He's first of all, he says, "Don't go in, the red light's on."
He does?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, does he?
Stops people, and there's 2, you know, stops
Oh.
them. And then when I go up and get him, and if I'm directing especially, I'll take him behind the camera and I'll be directing, and he doesn't say a word. He's amazing. He's
He
absolutely
doesn't
amazing.
walk in on that. I mean,
No, he's amazing. I mean, he understands, I don't know how he understands that, but he does understand that.
but does he differentiate between that daddy that's on the screen and the one
No,
that
the first thing that was confusing to him was when he saw me on television and I wasn't there. And
Yeah.
they went to commercial, and he looked all over the room for me. He looked behind the set.
Yeah.
He looked under the table, looked under the couch, and he couldn't figure out what happened to me, you know. And then it came back
so
on.
sweet.
I was there, and then unfortunately the show was over, and then he really had a hard time with that.
Oh.
Now he's figured out that there's something back there that they squeeze you in and they take you out, you know.
I always wonder why it wouldn't be more confusing to kids, you know, because they used to come up and they'd ask me, "Are you Dinah Shore in the records and on the television?" I said, "Yes." How do you get out of it?
I know.
You know, that's that same feeling.
Did Missy have that problem when you were on the...
Oh, yes.
the Dinah
Except
Shore?
she was in the studio and Jody was tearing up the studio, you know,
Yeah.
wrecking the cameras. But they were there every Sunday like you have, or every Saturday, whenever we do it.
Yeah.
You probably spoil him rotten, right?
Well, I try.
Just like Big Burt spoiled you.
Yeah.
This little thing I love. Florida Drama Award.
My Lord.
Outstanding performance by an actor, 1956, Burt Reynolds. Palm Beach College, Junior College. Outward Bound.
Yeah.
I told you I did Outward Bound.
You did Outward Bound with me the whole 3 years.
6. But who's
the 3
counting?
years that you were outward, the other 3 years you were in. This is my first award as an actor, and I'm amazed that it still looks this...
It holds up very well.
It holds up well, yeah.
Sure.
Outward Bound, I played an alcoholic who was typecasting.
Oh, sure.
And
One teacher, all your teachers had great influence on you, your coaches particularly, but one...
Coaches, yeah, but teachers, no. I only had one teacher that changed my life.
Would this be the gentleman, Watson B. Duncan, Jr.?
Yeah.
And let me read what he wrote
We just
on it.
lost him last week, and I miss him
Oh, he
already.
adored you. Buddy, you are the greatest human being I know. I love you, Watson B. Duncan Jr. You have this capacity for making friends and keeping them forever. You don't have any ex-friends.
I have some ex-acquaintances, but I don't. If they're really friends, then you treasure them.
Yeah.
Try to hold on to them, you know. I mean, I think that, as you do, that when you have somebody that's been a part of your life for a while, it's important that you keep that in place.
Never forget what it was that brought you down.
We were talking about Don Meredith, who we both love so much, and God, I miss him so much. You know,
Oh, you won't. We'll get together.
We had such fun.
I see
remember
Don
once
and
the
Susan.
New York Giants were playing the Cowboys, and I was sitting on the bench with him, and it was the last game of the season, and we went to a party afterwards, and he introduced me as Don Meredith, because, you know, he's very big.
Oh, yeah.
As a quarterback, he's huge, you know. And this very rich society girl from Park Avenue said, "Which one of you is Dandy Don Meredith?" And he said, "This one. Do you think it was me, this big dumb lummox?" It's this guy right here.
The big dumb lummox with the
I
skinny
represented him
legs.
well. I did the best I could.
Did everything come out all right?
Everything came out. Thank you
Oh,
very much.
fine. I have a gift for Quentin.
You do?
Yes, I do.
Oh.
You can open it for Quentin. I imagine he's not into boxes these days.
No, he is actually. He likes it. Oh. My gosh. Camp Keystone.
Camp Keystone.
Oh.
When you were a counselor,
I was a counselor.
you
there,
took care of all the kids, and you taught them a lot of drama tricks.
Well, actually, I taught the two things that go together very well, boxing and drama, which has certainly come in good use to me.
Oh, yeah,
It cost me $400,000 when I hit a director, but that's okay. What's another story? Murray! Here we go. There it is, Camp Keystone. There I am right there in my little Camp Keystone shorts. I'm teaching them drama there with a football in my hand.
Yeah, well, that's drama.
I'm teaching boxing.
Believe me, that's boxing.
My brother taught there, too, you know.
You teach
Jim.
football?
No, I had the football. Jim had the baseball and the basketball.
Yeah.
But I loved that time. It was wonderful. And I realized, that was my first realization. I was about 19, that how much I love kids and that I could communicate with them.
That you could do all those wonderful things and inspire them to do. I felt that way about summer camp. That was my first big chance.
Wasn't that a nice time?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sing in front of people.
I lost my virginity in it was actually in a trampoline. Yeah. I was alone at the time.
Well, of course.
Yeah, this is very nice.
We'll be right back.
We'll be right back. Probably bleep that, too.
Stand up straight. Take a deep breath.
Okay. What does this do for me?
I'll tell you later. Take a deep breath. Bring it up. Let it out. Isn't that amazing? Went from a size 36 to 42 right before your eyes.
Special Conversation with Burt Reynolds.
Could you identify with the guy in Starting Over? Because up until that time, you'd played every romantic lead. And this is a guy who could not get a date. Candy Bergen and Jill Clayburgh got nominations for the, and you did not. And I got very uptight about that.
Well, that's show business, but I think it's my best work, and it was closer to me than anything I've ever done. And I had to really campaign to get that part, as you remember.
Yeah.
You and I went to a party at...
Many
parties, but there was one particular party where the director was at, and you kept saying to me,
go on and talk to him. Be funny with him. Go ahead, be funny.
Yeah. Be vulnerable, you said. Be vulnerable.
Be vulnerable, that's it.
Yeah.
Well, but you are vulnerable. You're the only actor I know, and I can say this, it's my show, so I can say something. You have revealed so much of yourself, your vulnerability. I don't know any other actor that has allowed this much of himself to be revealed. There are a lot of actors who did action films, going back to the old days. They did action films, they did romantic roles, they did all kinds of comedy things, perhaps, but they never combined it into one person, and directed and produced and acted in the same property. What are you going to be when you grow up? You've got to leave something.
No, I thank you, but I think that's that going back to Starting Over was a real challenge, because they said you can't play a guy that vulnerable. You won't bring it off, and I thought I did bring it off. And
but I think your humor reveals your vulnerability. You know,
being quick, or being able to handle yourself at a cocktail party has nothing to do with being vulnerable, and that's the confusion that people have. I mean, sometimes your wit or your aggressiveness in terms of being with people is a shield to keep them from hurting you, you know. And that was always my shield. My shield was always my sense of humor, because I knew that if I didn't grab the guy and get myself in a lot of trouble, I had to fight my way out with humor. And you used to take me to these parties. Oh, it was way over my head. I mean, Dinah would take me to parties that were in Bel Air, and I would say, I'm not ready for this. And we would be with Sinatras and the people, and I was scared to death. And
nobody knew it.
The only thing that kept me from, you know, jumping out the window was the fact that I sort of made fun of the whole situation.
But most of your humor is self-deprecating.
Well, they like that. They don't want you to make fun of Frank, you know. So I made fun of me.
Yeah, that shows a vulnerability that, you know, on all the talk shows, when you go on, you are very funny, very vulnerable, and very honest. And for a person as private as you are, to
well, you're honest
that
up
much.
To a point. You're honest about your career. You're honest about your vulnerability. I'm not honest about a lot of other things that I've said today. I don't usually say. But you don't get into your family. You don't get into other things, because they're not entitled to that. You know, they don't have a right to that. As far as my career is concerned, it's been so open, booked, beat up, stomped on, and sometimes praised, that it's fodder for me, that I can use it as I would like. So I can have as much fun or not. And it seems that there's a thing in this town, or in this country now, where we're so jaded about love, about life, about what's real, what's good. And so you have to cut through all that and say, this is who I am, and I'll make fun of me, and then you're allowed.
The luxury.
Yeah. The only thing good about getting old is that you say sage things every now and then.
Profundities.
Little pearls drop out of your mouth, and nobody gives a damn until you're my age.
But you know it's not going to go away now. You don't get the feeling that you wake up some morning and it's over. You know, like with the
no, I don't think that's bad.
2.5-minute stars. Yeah.
I don't think that's. You get nervous before you do concerts and.
Of course you do.
I tell a Dinah Shore story all the time. I told this story the other night to Ginger Rogers and Jane Powell, June Allison, and Esther Williams, who've heard a few stories, right? And we're sitting around the table, and I said, I have a
This is a
Dinah Shore-
conversation.
Yeah, I said, I have a Dinah Shore story to tell. She's 18 years old, and Eddie Cantor brings her to New York, and she goes out. She knows 11 songs, and she sings the 11 songs. And Eddie Cantor's behind this glass wall, and he says, can't do Eddie Cantor. He says, do it again. She does it again. He says, do it again. She does it again. Do it again. So she does like 11 songs, like 7 times. And finally said, Mr. Cantor, is there something wrong? And he said, no, there's nothing wrong. It's just the last time anyone is ever going to hear you sing for free.
Yeah.
I just want to say something to you, and I've said it to a lot of people, and I haven't said it to you. If I have any class in my life, in my career, this is hard to say, in my life, in my career, or anything, it's from you. And I mean that. You gave it to me.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
Honey, you were born with it.
No, I wasn't. I wasn't anywhere near it. And I remember one time I was in such trouble I was in trouble most of my life, but I was in real trouble at this particular time, and the press was writing some horrible things, and you said, a lie will die,
Yeah,
and the
of
truth
its
will
own
rise
weight.
to the top.
Yeah.
And it did, and you were right, as usual. But every bit of dignity and whatever that I have to draw upon every now and then, I look in my Dinah bag, and it's there.
Can I add just a little addendum to that?
Mm-hmm.
We gave each other so much. You gave me wonderful confidence in myself as a woman as well as a singer. And if I gave you any tiny vestige of confidence in yourself as a posh figure on the Hollywood scene, that's in no measure as important as what you gave me or what we gave each other. I think it was a really nice thing.
Sure was.
I'm grateful.
Me too.
I love you.
I love you too, honey.
Nashville, Tennessee. It's home. And that's where part of my heart will always be. You know, Nashville may be the home of country music, but you don't have to be there to get the feeling. Just stay right here on TNN, the Nashville Network, the heart of country. You're wonderful.
There's a joke there somewhere, but I'm not going to touch it. Thank you very much for letting me be here and make a fool of myself and everything.
You thank me?
No, I do thank you, because I remember the last time I did your show, Henry Jaffe jumped out of the window.
Well, yes, he's been seen since then.
He jumped right through the window. He said, this show's going right in the toilet.
Well,
Fred liked it.
every time we did one, they said that. And Fred liked it.
Yeah.
And every time we did a show, Henry Jaffe jumped out the window.
Yeah.
And Marie said, I think it'll work.
Yeah.
And Fred says, oh my God, how am I going to cut it?
Yeah.
What am I going to do?
Well,
They figured out something.
Murray, no, he liked Lucky Lady.
Yeah, that's right. I like Lucky Lady.
I like you too.
A
You're
lot
Lucky
of
Lady.
people.
Will you tell your whole family and everybody hello?
Yes,
for me?
I will.
All that?
I will. I will. And you do the same.
I will.
Give my love to Lonnie,
I will.
Quentin. A big
Yeah.
hug to that precious thing.
I sure will. I give him a hug all the time, but I'll give him a
Yeah,
special
give him
hug.
one and tell him that's from me.
Okay.